occasionally there becomes an accessory that releases that actually does make a difference in how you create content. And sometimes that may not happen in its first iteration. A lot of times it doesn't. But eventually that product may reach an area where it actually becomes very useful. And that product is smart glasses and smart sunglasses. And today we're talking about the Meta Ray-Bans. So these come in two different options as far as your shape and size. Your standard more square shaped and your more circular shaped options for style, similar to all other Ray-Bans, and multiple colors. And you can even get prescription lenses. But beyond that, we can see that these things aren't really that much of a difference in size. And you do feel a little bit of a difference when wearing it for an extended period of time, but it's definitely reached a point that these sunglasses, compared to previous models or spectacles, any of those that have tried to do the smart sunglasses with picture taking, video, etc., wasn't able to achieve, and I feel like these finally do. So let's run through some of the specs as well. Here that there are 2 points on the edge of the lenses that show maybe something that is visible to a camera, and those are where the cameras are. But the camera is only on one side, the other one is just a blank to, I think, primarily for feature set, just to make sure they look the same on either side. But you will get a white ring anytime you use any content or footage. So the person that is seeing you taking footage will realize that you have a camera. So that's a big plus as well. But the camera itself is a 12 megapixel. And of course that content can be recorded for a 60-minute burst, and it records in 4K. So as far as the content goes and the quality, it's almost on par with a normal mid-range smartphone would be. Both these devices are actually quite comfortable. They are, of course, a little thicker and heavier, like I mentioned earlier, but you have the 12 megapixel camera here that can output in 4K video as well. This light will turn on, as we see here, when taking actual video, so the person on the other side would be able to tell that you are recording. And then there's a button here, or there are even voice features to activate these. And so I'm quite pleasantly pleased with these smart glasses. They offer just enough in feature set between actually a voice assistant built in to touch controls on the side of the frames and built-in speakers, and actually as far as the microphones, there are 5 microphones in this, which actually provide pretty good quality for when recording video or even taking a call. I've asked people that have been on the phone with me when I've taken a call with these on, and they can't tell any difference from this compared to in-ear earphones or maybe headphones or directly on the handset of your smartphone. So audio quality is great as well. And speaking of audio quality, speakers. So there are 2 independent speakers on each side of the frame, and those offer good quality comparative bone conducting speakers. Since they're outside, they're sitting right by the bridge of your ear, and so most of the time, unless you have it very loud, other people around you won't even be able to tell that there's music going, but you will still be able to hear it. And it's great for using the assistant as well. The assistant is limited. It's a Facebook Meta assistant, so obviously you might have concerns with privacy and data with that, so be aware of that. Obviously, this is all owned by Facebook, this content. Of course, they push for you to use Instagram and Facebook for all your social media needs, even when exporting the content. So just be aware that all of this is encapsulated around Facebook, and maybe you might not like that. But if you're comfortable with it, even the Meta AI assistant can answer pretty basic questions, like the weather even, but I believe it's a decent activated assistant. Hey Meta, What is the weather today in Orlando, Florida?
Today in Orlando, Florida, it will mostly be partly cloudy and temperatures will range between 50 to 70 Fahrenheit. There's a slight chance of scattered precipitation up until 5 p.m.
And surprisingly enough, because of all the microphones, most importantly, that assistant gets activated fairly well. So the assistant can do things like take pictures, start recording, stop recording, and etc. There are some flexibilities. Of course, you can ask it as well what it's capable of doing to hear its full set of list. And it sounds like that Meta keeps expanding on its capabilities with software updates. So who knows in the future what all these smart glasses can do with the assistant. But back to hardware for the rest of the device. Like I mentioned, there's multiple colors. I really like this color. It's their jeans color, but it's incandescent see-through type plastic that some devices have. From my childhood, the first device that did this was a Game Boy, and since then I love getting this as an option. So regardless if you're going with the Wayfarer or the headliner option of the Meta sunglasses, and remember, the only difference between the two are your design. Really, everything else is exactly the same. I believe there are some more colors with the Wayfarer versus the headliner, and of course, some different color glass or lens wear as well. But other than that, all the internals, the hardware, the speakers, the microphones, all that is the same. Another hardware point is, of course, these things have space on them to save pictures and videos, because we wouldn't want these having to be transferred directly back at all times to your smartphone. And so I think they did a good job on that, as well as putting space on here. You get 32 gig of eMMC. It's basically flash-based storage. And with 32 gig, honestly, for something like this or any action camera situation, unless you're constantly recording, which there are recording limitations on these, you will actually get quite a bunch of footage on it. I've tried to record something at least each day multiple times, and I have yet to fill it up. I typically import multiple times a day, have no issues with that. Sometimes there may be a Bluetooth issue with the import because it uses Bluetooth and Wi-Fi for connectivity, and I believe when it's actually transferring those files, it's using Wi-Fi. So just be aware, depending on what other devices you're connected to, you may run into interference with connectivity, and you may have to resolve that to get the import to work. But overall, even on the import process of getting your photos and videos over to your smartphone, they work great. I think they did a great job on what they offer. Now, of course, the only thing I wish there was a capability of doing, just because of being a content creator and thinking of multiple methods of recording, I do wish you could change the footage to be in your typical landscape aspect ratio instead of vertical video. But of course, you're using these more for vertical content, social media, and shorts. So it makes sense that's what it's supposed to do. But in future, I would actually really like to see maybe the use of these cameras. Maybe have one camera do your horizontal and one do your vertical landscape or aspect ratios. I think that would be very beneficial in providing a whole solution to allow you to basically have that footage recorded at the same time out of both, saving independently and then allowing you to customize what you do with your content. These, of course, don't have any IP or water protection rating on them, so just be aware of that. You can't, like, say, jump into a pool with them and expect them to still survive afterwards. Just be aware of that. They aren't water or splash proof yet. You can certainly take them out in the rain. I've done that just for testing, and they hold up fine with that still. Your mild to moderate amount of rain probably won't damage or affect these at all. And so I don't think you would really have any problems at that point But it's just something to be aware of. These do not have any IP rating, so if that's something that you don't want to invest these in until something like that comes around, totally understand. There is a little bit of an investment to these. They're either $300 for the Wayfarer or $329 for the headliner. Personally, to me, being in the Ray-Ban ecosystem, $100 more for the atypical Ray-Bans is not really that much more expensive for what you get out of these. Being able to not just use them as sunglasses, but actually be able to use them to record content. So to conclude about these, I think these are actually very good. Meta is obviously in the process of trying to come from the VR and AR perspective and eventually bridge that gap to where there probably likely will be a day where this is only one device. Like we could see this style thickness of a device being able to hold VR glasses and still be for AR and for standard content creation. So I believe that's where Meta and the whole industry in general is trying to head to, is to try to create a form factor that also is capable of doing multiple things. So at the end of the day, it's up to you if you get these, but I think these are a great option for just another content creation solution in your bag. And you may have even noticed some of my recent shorts, I've used these to take the videos on. But you might not have, because the content looks just as good as using a camera. So if you have any questions about these, feel free to leave a comment below. Smash that like button, and I will see you in the next video.